Good morning, and thank you for joining North Texas Networkers, a show about interesting people introduced to you throughout DFW area. Today we have a very special guest. I don't know how much you know about hockey, but I hope that by the time you're done with this show, you will know a lot more. We're going to be having Bruce Levine with us, and he is an announcer for the Dallas Stars games. He also has been a contributor to ESPN, and he had the opportunity to be the lead announcer on the World Championships just earlier this year. Today we want to welcome Bruce Levine. Hi.
Hi, Carolee. Stacy, thank you for having me. You know, I was looking at your open. You got like people doing stuff. I feel very low on the food chain right now.
You know what we should have you do? Give us a sample of what it sounds like to announce a game.
I really can't because it's too early in the morning, and I don't want to scare people this early in the day. It's way too complicated.
Too intense. Way too intense.
Way too intense. You guys look very chill and laid back, so we can do that. Well, I've known you for a few. It was the first time I've met Stacy this morning, but I've known you for a couple of years.
Just a few.
Just a few.
I mean, I'm going to say it's been 8.
8 or 9.
Yeah. 8, 9 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Long time.
Well, for those that don't know you as well, tell us a little bit about your family and
Okay.
who is Bruce?
Well, who is Bruce? That's a good question. Let's see. I've been in Dallas. This is my second tour in Dallas. I came here in 1983, stayed here until 1995, then left to go broadcast minor league hockey in hot spots like Lafayette, Louisiana, and Little Rock, Arkansas, and other places in between. Came back in 2007. Been here ever since. My wife and I, we have a blended family. Between us, we have 4 kids, so it's a family of 6. Now, 3 are in college right now, so we're actually just a family of 3, and so they come back from college. Then they come back and decide that our draconian laws are too difficult to live under, and then they leave again, and that's pretty much it. I've worked at Channel 8, I've worked with the Dallas Stars, I've worked at a lot of places in between, so it's been quite an adventure over the past, almost 4 decades now.
Yeah, I know. Just reading through your resume, I mean, you've done so many different things, but what I wonder most is whatever got you started in the business.
I've always wanted to be in broadcasting. I realized at an early age I wasn't talented enough to actually play sports for a profession, so I wanted to be around it and do it, and I just always wanted to do that. And I got very lucky when I came down here in '83. I got an internship at Channel 8, and that was Vern Lundquist was still at Channel 8 back then. He was our sports director, and at the time, you had all this equipment. I was there, I had all this equipment, so I learned how to edit. How to edit videotape. And what happened was the person who was working weekends editing sports videotape quit. The career wasn't moving fast enough. She didn't like not having a social life, so she quit. And George Reba, who was at the time running the department, said, well, I'm going to have to put an ad out there so we can hire somebody. And I just said, well, you know, George, I know how to do this already. How about you give me a chance? And that was, okay, we'll give you a month. And that was the start. That really was just right place, right time, and not being afraid to open your mouth and saying, hey,
I can do this.
Give me a chance. That's the big thing.
I think we have some photos of you at Channel 8.
Oh, God, yes. So no, that's not Channel 8. That's with the Dallas Stars. That was in 2012. So that was back then. See, I look a lot more like I do now back then. No, that's not Channel 8.
That's Stars too, isn't it?
No, that's Louisiana. The guy left to me is Dan O'Rourke, who is an official in the NHL. He's done the Stanley Cup playoffs like 10 years in a row now. So that's old. Had the good hair back then, though. That's the Dallas Stars postgame show. That's Tyler Sagan to my right and Owen Newkirk, our co-host, to the left there.
And he does all the games with you, right?
Yes. We did that. That's back when we used to do it in the hallway. And we used to have fans line up in the hallway and do shows. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of feedback. That's what it looked like. Okay, that was 2014, the night the Stars made the playoffs for the first time in 7 years. Wow. And that was the hallway outside the ACC. It's me to the right, Josh Bogorod, who does play-by-play now. His back's to you, and that's Tyler Sagan and Jamie Benn. And about 400 or 500 fans just packed the hallway that night. That was incredible. I don't think they could hear a word. Okay, now we're going backward, Tyler.
And look at that. You've got good hair there.
That's 1987. Before the Stars came to town, the NHL used to have a preseason game in various places to try to get interest in the league drummed up. That was '87, and I had a chance to work for Hockey Night in Canada that night. You can't tell, but that's a knit tie. That's an Yves Saint Laurent
remember
wool
those,
knit tie
yes.
from back in the day. Had the square bottom. But you can see it was the Philadelphia Flyers play that night against the Edmonton Oilers. So that's an old one. This is Phoenix, Arizona. This is after I quit Channel 8 to go be a full-time hockey announcer. I went and they had something very strange called Roller Hockey International, which was a summer league played on inline skates. And I got called, Phoenix called and asked me if I wanted to come out there and do it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go out to Phoenix in the middle of the summer and do this. And then they sent me the schedule, and the schedule was Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. So it was the best summer vacation with pay I ever had. This was 3 years ago. This is when I worked for ESPN, and that's Jaromir Jagr, NHL legend. He's the second leading scorer in NHL history, and I got a chance to interview him for ESPN. That was really special because Jagr, you talk about legends. He played for the Dallas Stars for 1 year, but you mentioned legends in hockey, and Jagr's name always comes up. Now that's an old one. That is Channel 8. That's about 85 or 86, and that's obviously Tom Landry. And the landscape was so different back then in that you could just walk up, Cowboy practice was open. At the end of practice, you walked up and go, Coach Landry, can I please have a word with you? And he'd come over and just do an interview.
Wow.
It's not like now where you have the press conference and everyone sits back and you're not allowed to do a one-on-one unless it's been scheduled months in advance, and and you can't ask the wrong question or you get booted out. You just walked up and go, can I have a second? And there it was.
Yeah. So what was Tom Landry like?
Yeah.
Tom Landry was very nice. I mean, the thing is, growing up, I wasn't around the Cowboys. And I grew up in New York, and honestly, I hated the Cowboys because they kicked the Giants and Jets butts every year. And you saw Tom Landry on the sidelines, and he never smiled, and he always had the suit and the fedora. It was intimidating. And then he's really a nice guy. He really, when you look at his life and what he did, a bomber pilot in World War II, which back then had such an incredible danger and mortality rate that he survived that, and then went back to college and played pro. He had an incredible resume, but he was an incredibly nice guy. And if you can go, Coach, I please work with you. So, oh yeah, sure, just wait a second, or oh yeah, where are we going? He didn't treat you like, quite honestly, the punk kid that you were back then. I mean, this guy was Hall of Fame, was legendary back then.
Right.
But he was nice, he was cordial, very easy to talk to. And back then, the Cowboys had training camp in Thousand Oaks, California. And it was so much different back then because, well, first of all, Channel 8 was the first. Everyone goes live now from training camp. We were the first ones to go live. This was 86. So we were sequestered there for 7 weeks in California, which is not a bad thing. But you were in the dorms where the players slept. You were in a different dorm, but you were in the same dorms. You ate in the same cafeteria. You walked to the practice field with everybody. It was a much more relaxed atmosphere, and they actually let us pull people out of meetings to go live on our show at 10 o'clock at night. So it was a much different era of cooperation. Tex Schramm, of course, Landry was world-renowned. Tex Schramm also. And Tex Schramm just thought it was the greatest thing ever. More coverage for the Cowboys, the better. So we had a coach just go, what is this? You're pulling a player out of my meeting? And Tex Schramm goes, you know what I call it? Cooperation. And after that, no one ever complained because they wanted that publicity. It used to be that you went to California and if a story broke. The biggest story that happened the first year I was there was Herschel Walker signed with the Cowboys. Well, back in the day, the story broke, you had to edit, then you had to ship it by plane or something back to Dallas. So to
You don't
be
even think about that these days.
yeah, now you just put it on the internet like we are right now. We're live on the internet. Well, you put it on a plane, and then next day people got to see the story. Well, all of a sudden now it's live. Now it's happening, and it changed a lot. And the Cowboys, especially Tex, loved the fact that they were live on the news, lead story of sports every night for 7 weeks.
Wow.
That was something, and they were very cooperative and a lot of fun to work with. And the great thing about Thousand Oaks was not only were you at the scene, but also when you got done, it was 8:30 California time, and you didn't have to work until 11 o'clock the next morning, so there was some downtime to explore
That's nice.
just north of LA and sometimes go into LA and see what was going on.
So out of all the sports events that you covered, is there one interview that stands out most to you?
Well, it's not an interview. Actually, there's a couple of things, good and bad. I interviewed Muhammad Ali,
Oh, wow.
which was, looking back on it, not a good moment in my life. The the story behind this, I probably shouldn't be telling this, but the story behind this is Muhammad Ali's in town. And it was the same day that Howard Cosell, remember Howard Cosell? People are probably going, who's this? He goes in front of a Senate committee to talk about boxing and calls Ali, quote, a walking vegetable in front of the Senate committee.
Wow.
So guess who goes to interview Muhammad Ali to get his reaction to Howard Cosell's comment?
Probably wasn't a very happy camper.
He was not. He was not. And I didn't
Was it one of
phrase-
his famous sayings that he would normally say?
Yeah, and I didn't phrase the question, like I asked him a couple of questions trying to beat around it, and he hadn't actually heard what was said. So the third question I just came out and said, well, Cosell said this.
You got the raw reaction.
I got the reaction, but looking back, it's like, wow, that's a nasty thing to say to someone's face.
Yeah.
That
Wow,
really,
that
to this
bad.
day, I really feel like, boy, that was just not, journalism-wise, yeah, I got the reaction, but looking back, it's like, ooh, that's not something I really am proud of, and I don't even know why I told that story. So,
Because it's interesting, and that's what we asked you.
right, so you asked me here for that.
Well, it
Then,
shapes you in a way too, because then you learn from that and you ask different questions.
well, it's also
differently.
part of the reason, not part of the reason, but as I got older, I got further away from the TV
Face-to-face.
life and wanted to get more into hockey. I also interviewed Wayne Gretzky. That was the
wow.
only interview where I ever finished it by asking for an autograph, which again, not professional, but you saw the picture. Well, 1987, the Stars weren't even a thought to move to Texas back then. The Stars didn't move here until the 92-93 season. So I'm thinking, when am I ever going to meet Wayne Gretzky again? So I got the autograph. Not professional, but so be it. And yes, I still have the autograph. Funny thing is, a couple of years ago, see, things don't change. When you grow up really admiring and idolizing an athlete, 2 years ago, Edmonton's in town. He was working with Edmonton doing some consulting, and he was here. And we're at the AAC. I've been working for the Stars for 10 years at this point, and we passed each other in the hallway at the American Airlines Center. And I was like, Wayne Gretzky, what do you do? So I'm just walking by, and he goes, hey, good morning, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, good, how are you? He goes, okay. We walked by, and I'm like, Wayne Gretzky said good morning. Yes, my day is made. I actually joked that I should put on my resume, Wayne Gretzky said good morning to me once. But it doesn't change a whole lot. But the one story that I think I like the most, remember the most, Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter. I was still working at Channel 8. Things had changed. I had a bout with cancer in 1990. And when I came back to work, my career was pretty much dead. So one night, I'm at the station, and I didn't have any food at the house to eat. So instead of going home, I went to dinner with some people from the station. And when I came back, he was in the 5th inning of a no-hitter, and there was nobody around. So it said, why don't you go out? Go. You're here. Go. Well, we got to see the last 3 innings of the no-hitter, and I got to do the story for this. And I actually won a couple of awards for it, and it sort of kick-started my career again.
Really?
It was one of those where, after going through cancer treatment and some downtimes, and, I was back at Channel 8 not working what I was working before, and it was like, okay, maybe I don't suck at everything, and that story, just being at that event, seeing the history, and then, okay, maybe I can do something that I want to do again. And that really was the one thing in Channel 8 that sticks out. But then a year and a half later, I got a job as a play-by-play guy in hockey and decided, you know what, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about hockey.
Okay.
So we being women, we don't always know everything.
That's not true. do you know that hockey has more women
Does
fans
it?
than any other sport, at least
That's amazing.
till
I love going to the
I
games.
think more
I
people
enjoy the
I think
game.
women have gotten into the NBA quite a bit also, but it used to be that across the NHL, the percentage of women in the stands at hockey games was larger than any other sport.
I love that.
That's
Well,
great.
I think a lot of times people have a harder time grasping the rules
Yeah.
of hockey when they're first starting to go to games and learn things. So what do you think is probably the most misconceived rule or most misunderstood rule of hockey?
I can go into a lot of the penalties, and that would take a long time, and it'd be tough to explain without a hockey stick and actually injuring one of you. So we don't
We don't
want to
need
go
that.
there. But the offsides rule, the blue line. People who grew up in Texas know football. Offsides. Well, you line up the line of scrimmage. Before the ball is snapped, someone jumps and you're offside.
Okay.
Nothing to do with hockey. When you are going into the offensive zone, when you're trying to score a goal, and you cross the blue line, the puck has to be the first thing across the blue line. You can't have somebody, like in basketball, sometimes it's called cherry picking. People just stay way down at the other end of the court, you get the rebound, you throw it 90 feet, and they get a layup. You can't do that in hockey. In hockey, there's a blue line that separates each offensive zone. The puck must be the first thing across the blue line. Now, if the defensive team gets the puck and just happens to get the puck 1 foot back the other side of the blue line, everybody has to leave the offensive zone, go back out, and come back in again with the puck being the first thing in.
Wow.
Otherwise, it's offside. So if you're not a hockey fan, it is very difficult to explain, well, why was that offside and that wasn't offside? What do you mean offside? The play never stopped.
Lies my confusion all of these years.
Right. So it's going into the offensive zone. The puck must be the first thing in. If the puck comes out of the offensive zone, everybody must come out. And then there's one caveat to that. You can dump the puck into the offensive zone, and as long as you don't touch it, it's called a tag-up. Everybody can come back outside of the offensive zone, past the line, and then go back in, and the play is onside again. For the non-hockey fan, I think that is the most confusing. And that's one of the basic rules of hockey is offsides, not offsides. You can stand on the blue line with one skate on this side and one skate on the other. And you are technically onside because you have not crossed 100% into the offensive zone. Is any of this making sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the big thing. Is the offside rule is the most common rule that has a lot of explanation to it. So that would be the one thing. When you go to a Stars game, make sure the puck is the first thing in the zone, and then play will continue, and then you can attack the zone.
There you go.
Wow, there you go. Well, and I think in hockey too, fights seem so common, more so than any other sport.
Right.
Is there something that is a draw to that, or is there a memorable instance that you kind of recall of a fight that occurred?
Okay, well, first of all, hockey fighting is way down compared to what it used to be.
I do believe that.
There used to be a lot of fighting in hockey. The reason hockey and fighting go together is because you don't get thrown out of the game for fighting. You look at any other sport,
Go to timeout.
Football, basketball, baseball. If you fight, 99 times out of 100, you're getting thrown out of the game, you're done. In hockey, you fight, you sit in the penalty box for 5 minutes, and then you go back and play again. So I think there's a couple of reasons that fighting in hockey has been there. One is there's a lot of tempers going on. It's constant. Like you think about football. You hit each other, the whistle blows, everyone goes back to the huddle, you
down a
the
little
next
bit.
play, you line up. You think about football, how much action is there really in a football game? There may be 10 minutes of actual, out of a 60-minute game, what do you think, 10, 12 minutes of actual plays going on? Well, hockey, there's 60 minutes. 60 minutes, and there's always something going on. And you can also, back in the day, people were hitting each other with sticks. The league has cracked down quite a bit on the ability to slash people and cross-check. But when I was growing up, if you went to the front of the other team's net, they were pretty much allowed to cross-check, which is when you take your stick in both hands and jam it into someone's back like that, or slash. And after that happens 2 or 3 times, you get annoyed. And sometimes people would cross-check back, but usually it was, they'd say, you want to go. And you drop the gloves and you go. It doesn't happen as much now as it used to. They've really clamped down on it. But just the emotion. See, unlike some people, I don't have a problem with fights in hockey as long as it's an actual emotion thing. I'm tired of you, you're tired of me, let's get this worked out. Or, back in the day, well, you can't go pick on Mike Modano. If you're going to continually slash Mike Modano, Darian Hatcher is going to have a word with you, which is what happened to Jerry Roenick and wound up dislocating his jaw and 8 of his teeth. That's a very famous moment in Stars history. So it was a thing where either you did it because you were mad or you were protecting your better players. It's a little different now. You don't see as much. When I was in the minors, there was a lot of a lot of fighting.
I know there's a 30 for 30 out right now, or a documentary right now about a son whose father had given him a hockey team, and he did a lot. He intentionally did
Netflix,
a lot
yes.
of that, right?
Right. It was a minor league team in the United Hockey League, and it's a very strange situation because there were some incidents in play where under normal circumstances, no league would ever say a 17-year-old kid is allowed to run a hockey team. They would have just laughed them out of the room. But they were really trying to save the league at that point, and they needed an arch villain, and they got it. They knew what they were getting. It was not a surprise when this team became what they became. But if you go back to when I started, it was with the Dallas Freeze back in '92 and the teams after that, hockey started to diminish. But still, it was an accepted part of the game. And in the minor leagues, when you're in places in the South, back before, and I'm going to use Lafayette as an example because that team led all of minor league hockey in attendance for 4 straight years. 11,000 fans a night, and now you go
Wow.
back there now. I took my son back 3 years ago because he had a tryout with a junior team there. You would never know there was a hockey team that ever existed there. But for one point in time, they were the biggest draw in hockey. And the thing is, the 3 easiest things to figure out was, 1, when is a goal scored? 2, when a goaltender makes an incredible save from keeping a goal being scored, and 3, when 2 guys are beating the hell out of each other. It's very easy to notice these 3 things. So before you know offsides or any intricacies of the game, you can come to the game and say, well, we scored 6 times, our goalie played great, and we saw 4 fights. And that was a draw. It was a huge draw for a while. As people that didn't know hockey would go and they'd watch. I'm not going to say it was encouraged, but it certainly wasn't discouraged. People liked to see that.
Part of the
and
game,
yeah,
yeah.
it was part of the game. But now, as it's gotten older and the minor leagues are now more feeder leagues, the minor leagues are now more, we want to get players to the next level and eventually the NHL. It's certainly dissipated, but fighting for a long time, especially when you had teams in the South, was a major draw. People liked to see it. And you know what? The players didn't mind it. The players, I had one player, his dad came down from Manitoba. And a couple weeks later, I said, hey, how's your dad doing? He goes, well, it's minus 40 degrees. And by the way, this is a little known fact. Minus 40 Celsius and Fahrenheit is the same. It's the only place where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know
Fun
that
fact.
either.
That's a useless fact you can take with you from this. You take nothing with you today.
That could be a
Take
Jeopardy
that with you.
question one
It
day.
could be.
Yeah. So I said, how's your dad doing? He goes, well, it's minus 40, which was Celsius in Canada. He goes, every hour he's got to get up and walk out to the barn and make sure the cows are not freezing, that the heater's on and the cows are fine. He goes, you want to know why I come here and fight every night? Because if not, I'm the guy in Manitoba that's got to get up
gotta go
and
check
make sure the cows are okay. So the players didn't mind it. And these guys were tough. I mean, they were tough. But they loved it. They loved coming down here. A lot of the guys, for the first time worked with the Dallas Freeze, they stayed here. They met people. They got married. They stayed here. It happens. A lot of people, from those days just decided, you know what? I played. I fought. I had fun. I had a great time. I'm going to stay. And a lot of my friends are still here in the States. Now granted they've had their noses fixed and teeth implanted, but they're here and they're loving it. It really turned out to be a very, very happy ending for them.
That's awesome.
Amazing. So you've won several awards throughout your career.
Several.
Is there any that really stand out or that you were most excited?
Well, the Nolan Ryan one, that was a big one for me. Another one that was sort of interesting was when I was at Channel 8, we won a team award for the investigation of SMU football, which was sort of well known around these parts. And what's interesting to me is all the things that SMU got basically the death penalty for are now 100% legal today. Now with the name and imaging, you can go to college and say, okay, if you come to our college, we're going to get you $1 million deal with X company if you come here. And that's perfectly legal now. I also think you get older and you think about, how could these teams, remember the Southwest Conference, I know you do,
Oh, yes,
Caroline.
I do.
These schools, how could you pay these kids? This is so wrong. But then when you saw where some of these kids were coming from, I couldn't blame this is illegal, this is immoral.
Yeah,
Where
how
these
are they going to
ki-
get to school?
Right,
How
where
are
these
they
kids
gonna-
were coming from,
Yeah.
the money that they got from boosters or whatever, which at the time was illegal and now it's perfectly legal,
Right.
what they could do for their families back then with that money, whether or not it was illegal or not, or immoral, okay, it was illegal, no one went to jail, was really something that they could provide something for people that they never would have had otherwise. So you look back, the investigation, the journalism part of it was fantastic, but now you've come 30 years later and it's completely irrelevant. It's now
not a
part of
story
the,
anymore,
it's not a story. Again, times change, attitudes change, but you look at it and college players are now being compensated, which considering how much money they bring in to universities and schools, I think is perfectly okay. I mean,
So you
you've
think
got
that's going to keep the players there longer than it would have? So many of them start at a school and then decide to go
Really?
play pro.
See,
I think is that going to keep them there?
I don't think it'll keep them there because being a college athlete, there still is even if you're making $1 million a year to have your likeness on a billboard for a car company, if you get hurt at college level, you're hurt and you don't get to make that next step. You go to the NHL still pays more than the colleges, at least as far as I know. I mean, there might be a few colleges where that's not the case, and I'm not going to make any jokes about which ones they are, but think about your school's rival, and it probably is that case. Whatever school you may be, I'm sure everyone thinks their rival pays more. But it's still going pro. It's still the career path. So I don't think people are going to stay longer. But even transferring now, back then you couldn't transfer. You had to sit out a year. Your coach had to allow you to leave, and then you had to sit out for a year, and then you could transfer. Now you could just go into the portal and you're in another school 3 weeks later. But again, I think that's only fair, because one of the things, again, back to the 80s was college coaches at any sport, I'm not just picking on football, can say, well, you know what? I got a better offer from, let's use Jimbo Fisher, for example. He went to Texas, got a better offer from Texas A&M, and he went. Well, the kids he recruited at his previous school could not just go with him, or they could not just say, you know, well, I came to play for this coach because they played this scheme, or this defensive scheme, or they played this offense, and this new coach is doing, I'm a wide receiver, they were going to throw the ball to me 10 times a game. Now this new coach wants to run the ball 50 times. I want to go somewhere else. They couldn't leave. And it seemed very hypocritical that any other student in college, if you're a math major, you could go from Rice to MIT and no one goes, oh, you're upsetting the university. You know, no, but student athletes.
It's a pretty good way to look at it.
Yeah, but student athletes, well, you can't leave, you committed. Well, the coach didn't commit to 4 years. The math majors, the biologists, they, you know, and another thing, if you're a math major and, you know, you get a job with a financial firm for 6 figures as a sophomore, no one complains.
If you leave.
No one says, well, you can't leave, you're a sophomore. It's like, do you see the paycheck they're signing me? I'm going. So they've come a long way of stopping the hypocrisy. But back then, when we did the SMU investigation, it was national news, and it was really, you know, the journalism aspects of it and the checks and balances that we did to make sure that this was airtight is something that you take with you. No matter, and that's another thing that just drives me crazy now with social media is everyone wants to be first. They don't want to be right. And that causes a lot of problems. So going back to the SMU investigation, just how it started, where it finished, the ramifications, but every step along the way to make sure that it was 100% airtight is something that is very, very important.
I think the broadcast journalism and the sports announcing and the covering of all this is such a good way to marry a love of sports with a profession. Is there any advice you would give somebody that was kind of looking into this as a career?
Yeah, there's a couple of things advice I would give. When I talked about how I started at Channel 8 and I was interning, but I had access to all the equipment, which 9 out of 10 college students didn't have at that time. Now with podcasts, like we're doing here, being able to video. I mean, everyone's got a way to, you know, you've got a phone, you've got, I don't know what is it, iPhone 14 now?
13 maybe.
13 now?
Maybe 13.
I'll bet you they
All I know is my
coming.
12 takes incredible video. I felt like I was taking a professional football video the other day.
So
It's amazing.
you can do things. You can create stuff, upload it, do videotape editing. I think the best advice I could do is do it now. Don't wait for someone to say, I want you to do this. Do this now. Create your own stuff. Upload it. Send the link to as many people as humanly possible. Get feedback. But the great thing now is kids can do this immediately. I would say another thing to do is if you want to do play-by-play, go do it. You know, I got my start doing play-by-play doing high school football. You know, even if you're not getting paid, or even if the high school isn't sanctioning you, take your, you know, get a microphone, get a recorder, whatever you're recording on these days, and go sit in the stands and do play-by-play. Get better at it. Listen to yourself. With all the technology improvements, you can do this right now. Don't wait. Get your stuff. If you want to do this, start working on it now so you get more reps, you're better at it, and people can help you along the way. And then when it comes down to it, if you're going to hire somebody who has experience, whether it's paid or not, doing something, or someone who hasn't, you're going to go with the person that's been working at it and improving it along the way. So it's use technology and make your move now. I would also say, and this is going to drive people crazy, do not get a degree in radio TV.
Interesting.
Journalism's good because it teaches you writing, other
Good.
stuff.
That's what I did.
Yeah, journalism's fine. But radio TV, because of all the innovations, you can learn a lot of the things. But it's always good to have something else, just in case. For example, you talk about journalism. Carolia, I know you're not that old, but when you took journalism, how many newspapers were there around the country?
A lot.
Thousands, and all
Yes.
thriving and all, Well, now the newspaper business is really suffering. So if you're going to do radio, TV, do it, but have a fallback degree just in case. You never know what the future. When I went to college, I knew everybody I knew was a journalism major, and now you look at all the you have the Dallas Morning News, Dallas Times Herald. There are all these papers across the country, and now there's maybe one per city.
Yeah.
So always you don't know what's coming around the corner. I always like to say, when I was growing up, every school elementary classroom had an encyclopedia. And people made a good living selling
Oh
encyclopedias.
yes, my husband sold those for a bit.
Right. Well, can't do that anymore. So if you're going to do radio, TV, do it. But get yourself a degree in something that, just in case things don't work out, you can still say, look, I've got a business degree, or I've got a journalism degree, or I've got a marketing degree, just in case.
There you go.
Well, clearly you've done that well because you got to have the opportunity this year to be the lead announcer on the World Championship. Share a little bit about what that was like.
That was fun. That was the U18 championships that were supposed to be in Michigan, but due to COVID, they were going to be canceled, and the Dallas Stars, Brad Albert, and the organization stepped up and said, we can do this. We have the facilities. We can make it as COVID-free as possible, and they had some strict guidelines, and they were able to do this, and it's just something I wanted to do. So again, not being afraid to open my mouth, I had a friend at USA Hockey who I'd known from a previous job I had, and I said, hey, the guy's name is Dave Fisher, so I called him Fish. Hey, Fish, what do you guys got going for this? And he goes, well, send me your resume, I'll pass it along. And they called up and said, here's the schedule, what can you do? And so I got the really cool thing about that was with the U18s is most of those kids got drafted this year in the NHL. So I got to see a ton of the players. But it was Canada, Sweden, Latvia, Belarus, Switzerland. They're in two locations. So Team USA was at one, Team Canada was at the other. This is Sweden versus Belarus. You can't tell, that's the Belarusian flag to the right, and I don't know why they have a ship for Sweden, but we'll go with it. The person there, that goal there was Fabien Lascelles. He was drafted in the first round, I believe by Boston. So I got to see a lot of the great players. Now this is, my background for allowing me to do this, this is the KHL. This is the Russian Hockey League. It's going to be the second best hockey league in the world. And I got to do some games for them. But instead of traveling me to Russia, they sent me to Stamford, Connecticut to call it off a monitor in the Yankees broadcast studio.
Wow.
So that was one of my ins for the U18 was I knew how to pronounce Russian names and international names. So when they saw that, I said, okay, you're not going to completely butcher, these people's
I didn't even
last
think
names.
about pronouncing names.
I know, I bet that's really
when you're
hard.
saying, Klimovich, Demir you gotta be able to roll off the tongue
And I have
a little bit.
to
Yeah, exactly. Miryanov, things like that.
We have a real fan in the studio today, and I'm sorry to kind of short the conversation, but we're running out of time, and I want to make sure he can ask a couple of questions. Derek, are you back there?
I am.
Oh,
Hi.
look at this.
Bruce, it's very nice to meet you. I've listened to
You
you.
can't stand back there.
Oh,
You can't-
Come on
here, I'll
up.
come. I'll sit with you guys.
Come on over.
Hey, I didn't know I was actually going to be on the show today.
I sit between the ladies.
Hello. See, that's
They
how.
told me I had to sit here.
There we go.
And,
Hey,
my wife trusts you, Carol Lee. She's really proud of you.
nothing but trouble over here. Hey, I've obviously listened to you for a long time. Really
thank you.
big fan. Appreciate you and Owen always on
Well,
the pre and
appreciate-
post.
You need to call on the show occasionally.
I do. I've tried a couple times, haven't gotten through. So maybe I'll try a little
Try
later.
again. Try tonight. We have a game tonight.
There we go. Yeah, I'll try later this evening.
right.
So, I've been a hockey fan for a long time. Grew up playing hockey here in Dallas, of all
Who'd you
places.
play for?
I played up through college, second
Really?
year. It was club through UTA.
Right.
But I did play high school all growing up. I played on all the Star Centers. Still play today.
And yeah, I don't want to cut you off.
I used to play today.
I love
That's
the
great.
high school program they have.
It's
here.
amazing.
It's
yeah.
fantastic.
And these days it is booming. There is a ton of people in
my son
DFW.
played for the Frisco organization
Yes,
for a while, and then
yes.
he went to Arizona State and played there
Yeah.
for a couple of years, and then he decided that there were other things to do at Arizona State than play hockey, and that was it.
I kind of fell down the same path. I
Yeah.
recently just got back into it after not playing for about 5 years, getting the career started and all that. But
It never gets out of your blood. Once
It
you
doesn't.
Once
It
you
doesn't.
I skate every Friday. I
There
still
you go.
skate. So
That's
Yeah,
good.
we're doing-
At my advanced age, I still get out there and creak around on the skates. And
we're on Sundays, so maybe we'll face each other at some point, and then we might not be as friendly.
You don't want to. No, I'll just be handing out speeding tickets.
So I guess the question I would have is there's been a bunch of crazy stars moments over the years. Going back to the Morrow days, you had Madonna, Lettinen, Zubov. I'm super excited personally that Zubov's retirement's coming up this year, or his numbers being retired. But I was wondering if you had possibly a moment in any of that time frame over the last 15 years, and it's obviously kind of easy to go back to 2 years ago where we make the finals in the bubble, and then our times back with Morrow and Madonna getting very, very close and falling a little bit short. I wonder if there is a game or any specific moment that kind of sticks with you. Me personally would be the San Jose Sharks game where we go 4 overtimes.
Cinco de Moro.
Oh man, one of the best games I've ever been to in person. I don't think anything will top that. I was wondering if you have anything similar.
Well, I remember that game. They call it Cinco de Moro because it started on May 4th and went so long it went into May 5th, which of course is Cinco de Mayo. But Brendan Morrow scored the game-winning goal at like 1:20 in the morning.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
So they refer to it as the Cinco de Moro game because that's when
hilarious.
he won that. I love that one. That's a fantastic moment. Jamie Benn winning the Art Ross that
Yes.
night, where he got the tying. He tied John Tavares with about a minute to go, and they double shifted him right out there.
4
We
or
got-
5 points from
and-
Trevor Daley.
Right, and he got the assist. I think it was Cody Eakin who scored with like 10 seconds to go.
Yep.
Become the first Stars player ever to win the scoring title
Yep.
in the NHL. That was crazy. I've really got to go back a long way to the '99 Stanley Cup run, and of course Brett Hull scoring the goal in Buffalo, where they're still mad. But I think the craziest thing, shows how much hockey's changed, I talked about this earlier, is, Jeremy Roenick hurt Mike Modano, but right before the playoffs, hurt Mike Modano.
Yep.
And when Darian Hatcher, you talk about a crazy moment that would never happen now, Darian Hatcher ran him from about 50 feet, jumped into the air, and literally knocked 8 teeth out of his mouth.
Wow.
In front of
gosh.
the Reunion Arena crowd to say, you know what, no one picks on our guy and gets away with it. That moment sort of galvanized the Stanley Cup. You had to look at one moment aside from, of course, Morrow and Joe Nieuwendyk winning games in overtime. That was the moment you go, holy cow, these
Yeah,
guys
you knew.
this is all or nothing with this team now.
They were for real, and I think on that replay, which luckily the audience
Yeah.
won't see,
Go to YouTube.
you can
You- go
actually
to
see
YouTube.
Jeremy Roenick hold his jaw and moving it back and forth.
Yeah, it was almost. You ever see the cartoon where a cartoon character gets hit in the mouth and the teeth xylophone out? That's what it was like. Now, I saw Jeremy Roenick 2 weeks ago. The Dallas Stars had something called the Big Heart Celebrity Challenge, where they brought hockey teams raised money to fight cancer, which of course is a big thing in my life, being a cancer survivor. And the more you donated, the more you were able to raise. You were able to pick which player you wanted to play with. And Jeremy Roenick came in. And the first thing everybody asked him was, he has no bitter feelings about it. He goes, that's hockey. That was
Yeah.
hockey back then. I hit Mike Modano. I hurt their best player. They came after me. That was hockey back then. Take, the line from the Untouchables. You
it
sent
sounds
one
more
to the
like the
hospital.
mob, yeah.
You sent one to the morgue. Well, that was Darian Hatcher's version of you sent one to the hospital. But Jeremy is completely cool with it. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
That was hockey back then. We played that game. We lived by that code. And he's perfectly good with it. But that if you want to be just a crazy moment. Now, winning the Stanley Cup in itself is crazy.
Of course.
Getting to the finals where no one could go to a game, or we talked about that often, how crazy it would have been had the Stars made that Stanley Cup final run under normal circumstances, where every other game is being played, and you're going to the AAC, and Victory Park has got 10,000 people every game day just waiting for it to happen. And then it's in a bubble.
Yeah.
So you follow it, you enjoy it, but it just wasn't the same feeling of intensity. But I would love the Stars to go on a long playoff run again, because I think this town is, I think the Cowboys have a really good chance this year. Really good
Think
chance
we're
of
winning
winning.
some rings around here this year?
I think the Cowboys are, but I'd love to see the Stars go on a playoff run where this town is like every other game, every other day, this town is hockey focused and hockey buzzed. You talk about the high school program.
Yeah.
That's a direct offshoot. People, when I first came here, there was one rink to play hockey at. It was at the Prestonwood Mall, may it rest in peace. And it was a
I
rink.
remember
they
when that
put-
was knocked down.
They had no boards. They put nets around. It, and you would go at like 1 in the morning into the mall, into this area that everything locked off, and you would play at Prestonwood Mall. Now, the funny thing is, sometimes you would come in for the 6 a.m. game, and the people from the 1 o'clock game would still be in the parking lot. You know, they'd still be there tailgating. I don't know if you call it tailgating, but whatever they were doing after you get done playing hockey at 2 a.m. till 6. And then they built the first rink at Valley Ranch. And now all of a sudden you have these star centers, you have these programs. That's a direct offshoot of the star success in the early 90s. People saw this game, they wanted to play the game, and it grew from there. Like I said, my oldest son played at Star Centers from age 7 till he went off to college. And you know, the tournament, the Big Heart Challenge, raised over $200,000. And you've got people who grew up here
Oh, yeah.
and formed men's league teams, and I say men's league, I should say beer league because it's co-ed. It's co-ed, and they all showed up, and you know, the first pick was Jeremy Roenick, the second pick was Ron Duguay, a former New York Ranger, and then there was Vern Fiddler and Brett Severin and Craig Ludwig, and Kari showed up and played in net, which
That's
I thought was
awesome.
extremely unfair. You know, but these people grew up watching it and they love it, so just the chance to keep those memories and keep the connection to the team, it was fantastic. And you know, I wish you the best of luck. Maybe we should talk to you about getting a team together for next year.
Hey, there you go. I'll link up with you after this, and we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
See what happens. I know they're going to do the tournament again next year. No, you could be playing.
Of course, and just to further your point too, now seeing all those different players from and all that expansion from when that happened, like you said, your son has been into it from '99. I was 7 years old when we won the cup, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Huge Stars fan, and now we have players like Seth Jones, his brother Caleb, Blake Coleman's won 2 Stanley Cups, all here from Dallas and Arlington and Plano. So it's awesome to see and super proud of.
It seems like every year somebody from Dallas, the DFW hockey system, is getting drafted in the NHL. You know, it used to be, oh, a Texan gets drafted. You know, they'd start putting, you know, here's a funny note, you know, so-and-so from, you know, Plano, Blake Coleman got drafted. Isn't that crazy? And now it's like, okay. You know,
Yeah.
Pretty good.
You know, Texas, California are becoming the,
Hockey state.
I wouldn't say, they haven't surpassed Minnesota and Massachusetts yet, but people don't fall out of their chair when someone from DFW or the state of Texas gets drafted anymore. It's really quite almost normal, at least one or two players per year. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, this
Fun
has
to be
been
part of.
amazing. I'm so glad you came out.
Yes,
and
thank you
asked
for letting me
questions.
hijack your interview here for a second.
So I guess before we go, is there anything we should have asked you that we didn't?
Anything you should ask me? Let's see. I think you've covered it all. I mean, what would I ask me if I were you? No, that's pretty much it. I said nice things about my wife, right?
You did. You
Okay,
always do.
I got to make sure I said nice things about Sherry because I do. She does watch this. I do have to go home. You know, you're a friend. She'll forgive you, but me, no. So done that. No, the only thing I would say is it really, when I talk about making the transition from TV to hockey, the great thing about hockey and hockey culture, and you know this, is when you're in the room or you're in part of an organization, is everyone has your back. Even if it's a men's league team. You know, when you're in the locker room together, you step on the ice together, you are a team. And there's a lot of businesses and corporations where it's cutthroat. Let's say you're in real estate. You know, maybe you two would work together, but I'm sure there are other people who would absolutely undercut you at the knees to sell a house.
100%.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the culture of hockey. And like I said, the guys who came back 2 weeks ago just to play and raise money, when you get in that culture and in that organization, in that system, it lasts with you forever. And I've got a wife, I've got kids. My life from, I would say, 1992 on, just about everything good that has happened to me has happened either directly or indirectly because of my association with hockey. So I may sound like I'm oversaturating the thing, but if you have something like hockey or something that you love, follow that passion because it will pay off in the end.
Yeah. And you are really good at it. I've enjoyed your podcast. I've enjoyed coming by to see your pregame and aftergame shows and to listen to you at the games. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you,
for being
Carol
here,
Lee and
Bruce.
Stacy. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Cara Lee,
And I'm Stacy.
and we are your real estate professionals. Thank you once again for joining us. And don't forget, we want to thank Willowbend Mortgage and Craig Schrank for sponsoring. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on North Texas Networkers. Visit our website, MariposaGroupDFW.com. That's MARIPOSA Group DFW.com for more information about the show and other resources. I'm Carol Lee.
And I'm Stacy.
And we are your real estate professionals.